Have you ever been on a B or D train crossing the Manhattan Bridge? Seeing the beautiful views of the East River and the Manhattan skyline. This connection from the 6th Avenue line to the Manhattan Bridge never used to exist and was made possible due to something called the Chrystie Street Connection. Opened in 1967, the connection allowed for trains on the 6th Avenue line to connect to both the Williamsburg and Manhattan bridges. So, how was it built and why is it such a vital part of our subway? In this video, we go into the history of the Chrystie Street Connection. The Chrystie Street Connection was first proposed as a part of the 2nd Avenue subway, featured in the New York City Board of Transportation's 1944 through 1948 capital program. Near the current site of the Chrystie Street Connection, the 2nd Avenue subway was planned to have connections to both the Williamsburg Bridge as well as the Manhattan Bridge. This plan differed somewhat from the current state of the Chrystie Street Connection, as the intention wasn't necessarily to connect with the 6th Avenue line, but however to connect the 2nd Avenue line with some of the other subway lines in the nearby area. It wasn't until the 1950s when the plans for the Chrystie Street Connection started to shape into what it is today. In 1952, the Board of Transportation announced that it would award contracts for the construction of a tunnel running underneath Chrystie Street, creating a branch off of the 6th Avenue line that would connect to both the Manhattan Bridge and also the Williamsburg Bridge via the BMT Nassau Street line. Plans grew by 1955 when the New York City Transit Authority, the successor to the Board of Transportation, proposed a reconstruction project for DeKalb Junction. This reconstruction project helped increase capacity through DeKalb by removing many of the grade crossings in that area. The excess capacity was to be used by the new services set to run via the Chrystie Street Connection. $10.2 million was approved for the connection in October of 1957, and with some of the fund for the project secured, construction started at the very next month. Up until now, we've only talked about the connections branching off of the 6th Avenue line, but I doubt many of you know that this project is what also saw the construction of the express tracks on the line. Yup, if it wasn't for the Chrystie Street Connection, there would be no express service on the 6th Avenue line. Not that it makes much of a difference anyway. The express tracks used to end at 34th Street Herald Square. They weren't extended due to the proximity of the PATH subway tunnels, but over time, new construction methods were discovered, and that is what allowed for the express tracks to be added. Anyway, the entire project was expected to be completed in just 3 years, but as many of us know, it's not New York without an abundance of delays. Completion of the project slipped by 7 years, and the Grand Street Connection opened in 1967. 1 year later, the connection via the Williamsburg Bridge opened, along with a new 57th Street station, which branched off of the 6th Avenue line. With the opening of the Chrystie Street Connection, new designations were introduced for the city's subway lines. Every service, or line as people like to say, was given a letter or number and a color to help make it easier for people to identify their train. New services were created to further connect the different lines in the system together. Many people opposed these changes, with Mayor John Lindsay himself writing a letter to the Transit Authority to attempt to delay the route changes. I will admit, the service designations that were added with the opening of the Chrystie Street Connection were confusing, with some services having double letters, diamond versus circle services, and random colors. The service designations were again altered 2 decades later, with double letters being removed and services being colored based on the trunk line they run on, but I think that is a topic for another video. Needless to say, the Chrystie Street Connection was an extremely important one, as it allowed services from various lines to merge onto others, enhancing the system's connectivity. Prior to the connection, we had no lines that ran across the Williamsburg Bridge into Manhattan and barely any connections to the 6th Avenue services. In the comment section below, tell me how you think our subway system would look without the Chrystie Street Connection. And as always, if you enjoyed the video and you would like to get more from Mystic Transit, like, subscribe, and consider supporting me via channel memberships or super thanks. Special thanks to Stuart Guberman for supporting me at the 2 Broadway tier and Damien's Transit and Health Bar videos for supporting me at the train operator tier.